Yo, what is going on, Senpai Squad? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we've got the review for episode 94 of Boruto. Now, I do apologise for how late it is. Usually I would get these up on a Monday, but unfortunately I was pushed back slightly. But we're here with the review. Now, I'm not too sure how long this review is going to be, because obviously I'm going to be going through your thoughts and all your comments first, as always. But I don't know how much I'm going to actually be able to contribute after that, because there wasn't really a great deal to talk about in this episode, as I'm sure you guys understand. So, as always, let's jump into what you guys thought of the episode. So this kind of sums it up. I was talking to a friend about this, because obviously you guys know that I ask on the community tab what you thought, to vote in a poll and leave all your opinions on it. And 9 times, I think out of every episode I've done so far, which has been like the past month, 2 months worth of episodes, every single episode has had at least, I think, 55% out of over 100 of you, usually about 140 of you, voted that the episodes are amazing. This one, 148 people voted, 11% went with amazing, 25% went with good, 32% went with okay, which was actually the highest stat, 10% went with bad, and 21% of you said terrible. Now that kind of puts it into perspective over the general consensus of this episode. A lot of people weren't that impressed, and honestly, I kind of agree. It wasn't my favourite episode. I don't think it was the worst episode in the world. People are comparing it with episode 49, which I think is like the renowned worst episode of the entire series so far. A lot of people were putting into that level of bad. This episode wasn't necessarily bad. It was just a little bit boring. You know, it had that like OG Naruto filler vibe going about it. Now, I'm not calling it filler. I know it's not filler. It's actually from the novel. So, and you know, we're told that none of the anime is actually filler anyway. So, I'm not calling it filler. I'm just saying it did have that feel to it, if you know what I mean. But let's have a look what you guys made of the episode. So then, starting off, Kawaki, 28% of fans said it's terrible. It's not even that bad. You just hate Chocho for whatever reason. Oh no, it's because she's confident in herself, and unlike Choji, gets mad when you're fat. Look at all the times Engine called her fat, blah blah blah. You know, you'd rather fake fans of Boruto, you'd rather see the main character and their families before anyone else's backstory. That's just sad. How are you mad because of one episode that shows the relationship between father and daughter? What's so bad about that? I have to disagree with you a little bit there. I think if you dislike this episode, who cares? It's not that deep. A lot of you know, you're saying like rather than someone's backstory, I would have understood, but there wasn't any backstory at all in this episode. We already knew Chocho's. In fact, Chocho was hardly even the main character in this episode. It was much more actually Choji being the main character. So I don't think, and I actually like Chocho. I've been very vocal on my opinion on Chocho, and I think she's very good. And I actually think she gets shafted a lot of the time by the writers of the anime, because she's mainly used for the comic relief episodes, when she can actually be a really badass and good character, as we see in the fight versus in the Mitsuki arc. She was good. Her fight against Shinki was absolutely fantastic. So I don't think hating towards Chocho is the reason a lot of people hate this episode. It is a big one. I understand anything but Chocho is the main character, even though, like I said, she wasn't people just despise. But I like Chocho, and I still wasn't a huge fan of this episode. Backstory-wise, we didn't really get any backstory. We learned that apparently Choji's wife was getting fed up of him. If that was showcased earlier on in the series, and then it was finally, you know, solved in this, then I'd be fine. But you going into this episode, their relationship, as far as you're aware, is fine. And then you leave this episode, and as far as you're aware, the relationship's fine. So personally, and I don't recommend doing this, but I thought this episode was very skippable. For example, if I was to rewatch Boruto again 5-10 years down the line, however long it's going to be, if I was to rewatch Boruto, I would probably skip this episode. That's my opinion anyway. Let's have a look at what some of you guys had to say more. Precisely after this small arc, Kawaki arc will probably begin, and I'm going to call this arc the calm before the storm. Listen, drunk gamers, unfortunately I think you are drunk. I would love the Kawaki arc to start, but it won't at all. Mainly for the fact that there's 2 arcs before the Kawaki arc. You got the Magina Bandits and the Owl arc. But I don't even think we're going to get Magina Bandits after this. I don't think we're going to get Magina Bandits until at least April, because that's around when episode 100 starts and when the new opening comes. We definitely won't get the Magina Bandits arc after this novel arc. I'm 1000% certain of that. It's very unfortunate. No Magina Bandits arc, and without Magina Bandits, there's definitely no Kawaki arc. So yeah, unfortunately, as much as I wish you were right, the chances are beyond slim. Personally, I liked this episode more than I thought I would. I agree when people didn't like episode 49, but for this episode, I have to disagree with people claiming episode 94 to be worse than that. I feel like the reason people don't like the episode was because of Chocho, even though the same people that criticise her are the ones that were singing her praises in the Mitsuki arc when she participated in fighting against the Yakuza. At the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to people being biased. Like I briefly mentioned, I 100% can see that. I do think a large portion of hate did come from it being Chocho. This is more or less a fact from the simple fact that when the episode was shown to be a Chocho episode, when it was announced, when the spoilers came out, people were already absolutely just hating on the episode straight away. I was saying give it a chance. It's like a couple episodes where I'm not going to go into too much detail in case you don't want to know about spoilers, but there's another episode coming up with another controversial character which people don't like, being a supposed main character. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much into it because that character was mentioned in the summary for the episode, but it's not necessarily confirmed they'll be the main character or acting as the main character, so I don't want to go too much into it. But if you know, you know, and when that character was announced to be playing a pivotal role in an upcoming episode, people were already calling it the worst episode in the series and that they're going to skip it. I, for one, was defending it, and because, for the simple fact, the episode's not out yet. So yeah, I do agree that a lot of people were really jumping. I've just dropped my phone, but a lot of people were really jumping on the bandwagon before the episode even came out, simply because it was Chocho. Anyway, we've got the phone again, so let's go back into this. Hyuga Prodigy. Worst ep by far. I have nothing against Chocho, but they could have given us some meaningful developments like Naruto and Himawari instead of ridiculing the Akamichi family with food porn jokes and some shitty plotline that amounts to nothing. Chocho remains stagnant throughout the entire show, and she hasn't progressed anything at all since the writer decided to write her off as a joke. Parts of that I agree. Worst episode, but by far, like I said, I don't fully agree with that. Do I think that they're treating Chocho's character badly? Yes, like I said, they've been writing her as simply as a comic relief character, which is such a shame because she has a lot of promise. She's Sarada's best friend, for God's sake. So you'd think she'd have a much larger role than she does, and so far her main role is just being comic relief. Like I said, that she's had some really badass moments, like that fight versus Shinki. I think we can all agree that episode in general, she was basically the main character of it, and it was fantastic, almost flawless. I absolutely adored it. And since then, we've had very, very, very small glimpses of that since, and it's mostly just been comic relief, which sucks because it's not even been good comic relief. It was bland, meh, bordering on cringy. That was a complete letdown coming off the masterpiece episode last week. I know they're adapting the novel, but I don't remember the novel being this bad. The one funny moment from this episode was Boruto got super thirsty for the spicy burgers while everyone else was pissing their pants. I wonder if that's foreshadowing that Boruto will learn fire style in the future, just something which struck my curiosity. I don't agree there, but I'll get into it. Now that it's confirmed spicy burgers are the next generation's ramen, and how the hell is Shino allowed to work at the academy? I definitely would want him nowhere near my kids. Not that I have any. The episode was really bad. That is just nothing redeeming about it. I just hope they don't butcher it next week like this episode was. The foreshadowing, I don't agree. I think that is a very, very, very large stretch, although it would be quite interesting nonetheless. As for Shino, yeah, I agree, he's been a bit weird in this arc so far, and as of next episode, it should be a good one. Okay, unfortunately, I'm actually going to cut some of these a bit short because a lot of you guys were leaving me essays in the comments, and this episode review is going to be very long if I just spend all of it reading your comments, so we'll skip on to the last few ones now. It was a basic and fun episode. I think Choji's quality has something to do with his expansion jutsu, if you know what I mean. So there's one positive comment. I like to see Boruto and Chocho trying to be helpful. That was good. I loved it. It was funny. It did make me chuckle a lot of the time, I will admit. The episode was pretty good. Got to defend Chocho. I wish that episode was about Sasuke and Sarada. That is coming next, my friend. But that's going to be it for your guys' opinions. Now I'm going to try and speak my mind about this episode without causing too much controversy. So then, let me get comfortable here. This episode, I thought it was okay. If I had to rate it out of the options I gave you guys from amazing to terrible, I have to go with okay, maybe bad. Now, a lot of people jump on the bandwagon. Whenever someone says an episode is bad, people automatically assume they're calling the series bad. If that's your mindset, then I'm sorry. I think it's absolutely stupid. I don't think hating on one episode makes you a hater of the entire series. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. And that's why I'm going to stand by the fact that I still love the Boruto anime. I think it has its perks, but it evidently does have its problems as well. Maybe this being one of them. And it's hard to blame it on the anime because yes, it is the novel, but you know, it's still classed in the Boruto series. And it's just a shame what they're doing with Chocho's character. Hopefully, they give us another arc at some point, but a proper arc. I know people are going to absolutely hate the thought of having another Chocho arc, but I'd like to see it get some proper development. However, I don't want that to be the next arc because personally, I'm sick and tired of having Team 15, is it Team 15? Shikadai's team. I'm fed up of having them tag along with Boruto squad all the time for big, long missions. I'd much rather see another squad actually get a shot at something because I think the past like 3 or 4 major arcs have had Shikadai's squad tag along with Boruto. And not that I hate them, it's just they can get a bit boring because they are, out of all the squads, I think they're probably the most alike to their parents. Not that they're a bad thing because their parents are great, but I would rather see someone like a Wabe squad, someone who I really, really want to see get some love, who hasn't in God knows how long. So fingers crossed Chocho does get some proper development at some point, just not too soon. But going back to what I was saying regarding it had a filler vibe, I don't really know a better way to put it other than that. You know, you could skip this episode and you really wouldn't miss much. You probably wouldn't miss anything, if I'm honest, because it didn't really add a great deal to Chocho and Choji or his wife, whose name I can't remember, because by the end of the episode, they were more or less the same as prior to this episode. Like I said, before this episode, we didn't know Choji was, you know, basically on borderline getting dumped. And by the end of the episode, you know, they're back to normal. So you don't really miss much if you was to skip this episode. And that's why I was saying, like, you know, 10 years down the line, whenever I rewatch it, I'm probably going to skip it. But yeah, despite what I said at the beginning of this video about it being probably a short review because I don't have much to add, this has probably been one of my longest reviews for a long, long time. And that's thanks to you guys. Thanks, guys. Now I'm going to have to spend much more time editing this. No, I'm joking. But yeah, you guys really went ham on leaving your thoughts and opinions in the comments because, like I said, you were leaving me like essays, paragraphs after paragraphs, and that's why I had to cut some of them short, unfortunately. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already to become a member of the Senpai Squad. And leave all your thoughts and opinions yet again in the comment section down below. Feel free to write me an essay this time. And I'll see you guys in another video. But until then, peace.